Hey, yo, what's poppin'? I'm Chad, and welcome to Comic Core Friday Night Live with, we're having a little bit of technical difficulty, so we are live with AHOY Comics. Tom is actually going to be doing this via cell phone and talking through the screen because he can't hear us. So without further ado, let's introduce our host. With the most Cat Ren Figures and Seawood 19 Dare to Defy. What's going on, guys?
Hey, guys.
Just hanging out.
Doing great.
Really excited about the show.
I am your segue to Tom. So, Carson, you're up. Ask away.
All right. Well, first off, we have a guest. His name's Tom Pear. I am so happy to have a guest on the show. It's great.
Excuse me. I'm really sorry to report this, but I can't hear you at all.
All right, hold on.
You're just a moving mouth.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Chad, you'll have to relay all of Carson's questions. Chad, you'll actually have to tell Tom.
Google Hangouts is as much fun to work with
Go ahead.
as it is to watch.
Can you hear it now, Tom?
No, I'm afraid not.
Yeah? No? Yeah?
No, he can't.
No.
All right.
I heard someone laughing.
Oh, so maybe he can hear us a little bit now.
You can hear Cat, maybe?
Hello.
Yes, I can.
Is it the high voice?
There we go. Cat, you're up.
Okay.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so after reading some of the great titles.
Oh my God, your voice dropped out again.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Hold on. We got this.
What's your thoughts, Woodard?
Cat, can you go?
This is apparently Google
What?
Hangouts isn't good.
Oh, I heard you.
All right.
You heard us?
So I'm going to take the first question. What are some of your comic influences? Because some of I read, what was it called? Wrong Earth. I read all 4 issues right before we started, and it was amazing. So I want to ask, based on Wrong Earth, what are some of your comic influences that got you wanting to create and read comics?
I just love everything. I love everything I ever came across. I started reading like Superman comics probably first, but also newspaper comics when I was a kid. I used to read them with my dad and stuff when I was really little. And underground comics, alternative comics, superheroes. I just love everything as long as it's comics. But as far as actual, and I think I get a little bit from everything. It's impossible to read like Chester Gould's Dick Tracy without having it scar you in some way. And
Amen to that, brother.
and sometimes I'll be in the middle of a superhero story and I'll just think of this beat from like an underground comic or something that has nothing to do with superheroes. And it sort of like lets me know. But obviously, if you're reading Wrong Earth, you know that like Silver Age superheroes are like, I love them. And I think about them all the time. And also, they're sort of alienated, stick it to the man replacement superheroes that came along in the mid-'80s and banished them forever.
Yeah, that's what I was just telling these guys before we started. It was like the 1966, Batman, Adam West meeting, your Frank Miller version of Batman. I absolutely love that. So
thank you. Thank you. I did, and I want to say, as much as I love Batman, every superhero was like that.
Right.
That TV show, they read a million great dumb superhero comics, and they were always like sticking up for authority. And there's a wonderful Superman panel where he's got to save Perry White, who's about to be kicked by a horse, but he's flying in a parade and he's like holding an American flag, and he's thinking, how do I save Perry White without desecrating the flag by putting it on the ground? And that was something Superman worried about, like in 1968.
Man, I tell you, that's what it's all about right there, man. The Bay of Pigs, all the action. Man, you gotta love the 60s. I loved in the first issue where Dragonfly Man's his sidekick, he does the whole putting his fist in his palm. Oh man, that was so cool. That was
Yeah,
Burt Ward
great.
right there, man. I saw some Burt Ward in that.
Jamal Igle, the artist, brings so much to it, and he's so all in on it. He's designed the worlds, the two worlds, to like a frightening degree.
It's so phenomenal because Alpha and Omega, it looked totally different. You know, one was kind of, you know, the happy-go-lucky style Silver Age stuff, and then the Omega was more like the modern day, really grittiness. You know.
Yeah, yeah, and color really helped too. Andy Troy's colors are gorgeous.
Mm-hmm.
You always know where you are. You always know what Earth you're on.
Mm-hmm.
So our next panelist, Bueller, questions.
Yeah, hi Tom. My name's Bueller. Thanks for coming on the show. Very much appreciate it. So I just want to give you a platform to kind of share with the books that AHOY is publishing right now and the ones that you're working on, because I just had the privilege of reading a few. If you can share what's in your guys' portfolio.
Okay, great, thanks. Yeah, well, we've talked about The Wrong Earth, which is about what happens when a grim and gritty superhero trades Earths with his campy duplicate, and it's also kind of like a double Howard the Duck, you know, trapped in a world that they never made. So after that, we've got Captain Ginger, written by Stuart Moore and drawn by June Brigman and Roy Richardson, and that's a comic book I love. It's a space opera, a starship space opera with
amazing.
Cats. And they're not just humanoid cats, and they don't just look like cats. They act like cats. And I recommend this comic book to anyone. And there's another one I wrote called High Heaven, which is a little more adult. It's about a guy who dies and goes to heaven, where everything's terrible and everybody hates him. And he's kind of an asshole anyway. So it's this. Can he escape heaven? Can anyone? We don't know. But that seems to be the problem.
So, Tom, there's a big debate if on High Heaven, on cover of one, that we have, I don't know if you guys can see this in the chat. We call this here the Bueller cover.
It's not me.
That is you. 100%. All you're
from Bueller is the question.
All you're missing is the vest.
Well, I have to ask my lawyer if he signed a release. But, absolutely not if there's no release form.
So
there he is.
Tom, you wrote the High Heaven. I just spent some time with that book earlier today, and I really enjoyed it. I read the first issue. It grabbed me right off the bat. I like the simple fact that, you know, unfortunately, the guy gets hit with a piano. I mean, that's a pretty horrific way to pass away. And to think of
that's how I want to go.
To think of going to heaven and then everybody hates you. It's quite the concept I've never really thought of. So I really enjoyed that. What kind of pushed you in that direction?
Thank you. My co-creator Mary Seo and I were we were both going through separately going through tough times in our life, and we went one day to this really sterile part of town that some developer built and was hoping was going to become apartments and really lively and stuff, but it was like a ghost town. But everything was clean and new and fresh. And we're both sitting there miserable outside this horrible coffee shop. And Mary said, looked around and she said, "We're dead and we're in heaven." And we just started having this marathon, months-long conversation about all the disappointing stuff in heaven and how awful it is there, and just mediocre and austere. And it just became this whole world. So we turned it into a funny book.
Well, I enjoyed it. I got to finish reading the other issues. I'm looking forward to doing that. One last thing before I turn over to someone else on the panel. So are your publications, are those monthly or bi-weekly?
Monthly. And they're at first we said they were miniseries, but they're not miniseries. They're more like TV seasons. Like we'll do 4 or 5 or 6, depending on the title, then go away for a while. And then if it succeeds at all, we'll bring it back for another season. And we're actually we're definitely going to do more of probably all of them. And I should say the 4th book is Edgar Allan Poe's Snifter of Terror.
Yeah.
Which is our take on how awful and drunk Edgar Allan Poe was. And he's such a drunk that he's reduced to introducing horror stories in a comic book now. It's a real come down for him. So
that's all right.
Hey,
thank you very much.
I got one another question to
sure.
You know, when that piano was hanging up in the air, are you when you were coming up with that, were you thinking about the old classic, The Music Box with Laurel and Hardy?
Well, that's a great film. That's one of the great films. I wasn't, but I'm happy that you reminded me about it because I like thinking about that movie.
But that piano gave him hell in that show.
It really did. I've always sort of said I want to die by piano because it would be really fast, and your last split second, you would just hear this tremendous chord.
Yeah, that's true.
Never thought of it that way.
I think next up we have Paul that wanted to ask some questions.
Just wanted to say I like your work. I'm really loving The Wrong Earth, and I'm a big Golden Age fan, so I loved what you did on Our Man. But on the editing side, my greatest part, my greatest time of collecting was when Vertigo came out. And I think you had like a tremendous collection of talent. What was it like editing that much talent? And did they work together? Because I know there were a lot of like crossover things. So what was that like?
It was just one of the best times in my life. I couldn't believe I was there, frankly. I felt like we were working with the best writers and artists in comics, and I felt like we were doing something important that would be remembered.
It is.
And I mean, Grant Morrison and Peter Milligan and Jamie Delano and all those people. I learned so much about writing just from, I was an editor, and I was at the beginning, I was an assistant editor. So these geniuses would write these scripts, and it was my job to tell them what I thought of them. Who cares what I think of them? They're geniuses. So it was awkward sometimes. I had to come up with things to say.
They are fondly remembered. I still go back and read those to this day.
Thanks. Yeah, there were some great things. Karen Berger, man, she taught me everything, and she really changed comics so much for the better.
So what is overall, what has been your biggest, you guys are doing phenomenal. Number one sold out of Wrong Earth. Number two is going back to second print. What do you think has been the big draw?
Well, the feedback we get is that people like the quality, and people like the generosity of the package. After the lead story, we've got backup comics, and we've got short prose stories and short nonfiction prose, and we've had cartoons and poems, and we just try to cram most of the pages with entertaining things, because sometimes, depending on how a comic is scripted, sometimes you can read it in 5 minutes and it feels like kind of a cheat. So we just don't want anyone to feel cheated ever. And I think they also, let's see, they like the ideas of the comics, that they don't crossover. You don't have to buy 3 different titles to understand something, and it just feels like story is at the steering wheel, and we're not worried too much about events, and probably to our absolute detriment, and we're going to just die of starvation.
Catherine, you had a question about the High Heaven.
My question's actually about Captain Ginger.
Oh yeah.
So I loved all the titles that I've been able to dive into. I mean, High Heaven was really awesome. Wrong Earth was really awesome. But we haven't really talked a lot about my favorite out of them, which was Captain Ginger.
Great.
And just this crazy story about cats in space. And I mean, just I loved the art throughout. I love the fact that their spaceship is referred to as the hiss, bite, claw, sometimes fall. And it's so spectacular. Even their names, like Mittens and
Sergeant Mittens.
Yes, Sergeant Mittens, and all the references to the litter box and scratch post. I love it. Just where did that come from? Like, where did that just pop into your mind?
Stuart Moore had done another job with June Brickman, the artist, and she drew a cat into it, and or maybe multiple cats, and he loved what she did with them, and he thought, we got to do something with this. And she has a real relationship with cats. She has a lot of them, and on her property and stuff, and a lot of cat friends. She thinks about cats a lot. So Stuart was just smart enough to go, well, let's use this, And so yeah, he put some of his preoccupations in there too, like starships and junk.
So much fun reading it.
Isn't it? One thing that's important to us is that everything's kind of funny on some level. Like, they don't have to be comedies or parodies or sitcoms or something, but we don't want to publish anything that's 100% serious, because there's a lot of that out there.
Okay.
So right now you've got 4 great titles coming out. Are there any plans to expand the line in the near future, or?
Well, you'll see when these run out, when the first seasons of these run out, you'll see different titles replacing them. And I can't tell you anything about them yet because I'm not allowed to.
That's fine. I mean, I've been impressed with the quality so far, so I think you've got me hooked.
Thanks.
So without like revealing like the names of the properties or whatnot, how many books do you guys look and see it like having active at one time? Do you have a certain goal that you want to have published or on the market?
Right now, 3 or 4 is fine.
Okay.
Until we get bigger, maybe we'll get bigger, but we don't have to be in a hurry to do that. I don't think. It's turning out to be a lot of work to put out 4.
And also, like on the newer ones that are going to be coming out, I don't want you to have to give anything away, but are they standalone titles? Is there any tie-ins at all? I mean, I know you referenced that you don't really tie books together; they're standalones. But is there anything referenced in some other titles that might come into play?
The titles referencing each other?
Yeah, and the new ones that are coming out. Okay.
No, although I keep thinking about showing Edgar Allan Poe in heaven.
Oh, cool.
So
that would be our crossover.
That would be interesting.
So when
David
you
gets
mentioned
drunk with Edgar Allan Poe.
You mentioned when the first season is over for these titles. So are these all basically going to be limited, self-contained stories, or are any planned to be ongoing?
I think there will be in most cases there'll be a satisfying ending with a tease of more to come. I hope they're satisfying. That's what we're trying to do.
Those are the best kinds. I love those teases.
So what's the beer you're drinking tonight there, Tom?
I have a Impaled Ale from Middle Ages Brewing Company in Syracuse, New York. It's their IPA.
Nice.
It's delicious, and it has the kick of a mule.
Nothing wrong with that.
Now,
Nope.
I know you guys have been in the industry for quite some time, and you guys, are you looking at new writers, new potential artists, or are they taking on any new talent?
Sure. Oh, yeah. We're always open to really good new talent, really good old talent.
We got one of the guys on our panel, JP. all about comics. He's got some good things. Maybe we can send him your way.
All right, absolutely do. You got my email now.
And the great thing about JP is he's also the host on his own YouTube channel, All About Comics. He's the host of Comics and Cold Ones, where he shares two of the greatest things, some beers and some comics, and he lets people know all about them. Thursday nights, right,
Nice.
JP?
Now, this entire crew here is going to C2E2. Are you guys going to be present at C2E2?
I'm afraid not this year. We have a small staff. Conventions are exhausting, and we did 2 in a row, like 2 weekends in a row this fall, and it was set us back a little. But we're going to do shows. I'm going to be at Emerald City, and so is Stuart Moore.
Hey, I'll be there.
Oh, great!
I'll be there. I'll be looking for you, my friend.
Good.
He's the guy with the coffee and the comics and the vest.
And the vest. The guy, the high heaven guy.
The best.
Yeah, he's the high heaven lookalike.
I'm the hair with a man under it.
There, I'm pretty sure I could spot you in a crowd.
Yeah.
So I got to tell you, I've picked up Wrong Earth since the first issue, and unfortunately, I didn't get the second issue. It came damaged at our local LCS, so I'm waiting for it to come back on print. So, is there any word on that?
The second printing's out.
Oh, it is.
Your store should be able to order them.
Nice.
Now.
So typically, Tom, this is where we have the sound effects, but since we're on a phone, I can't make the sound effect. But we usually give out a prize. We'll let you ask a question to our chat about anything you want to ask, and we'll give away issues 1, 2, and 3 of High Heaven.
You mean ask an opinion about something, or ask an informational question, or a trivia thing?
Trivia question.
Trivia question. Oh, okay. I'll
There
think
you
of
go.
one. You got 20 minutes? I'll sit here and think. Hang on a second.
Okay.
God, I was thinking of a good one the other day about Perry White, but I think I forgot about it. I'm going to get you a trivia question right now.
We've got other prizes, so I'll give one real quick while you think of it.
Okay.
Who was Grant Morrison's editor-in-chief on Suicide Squad?
Grant Morrison's
Yeah.
editor-in-chief
Editor
on Suicide Squad? That's like 3 questions put together. Are you asking me?
No, I'm asking the chat.
We're asking the people watching.
You know who it was? He
No.
was supposed to be with you tonight.
I'm not sure I agree with the premise of the question.
People are Googling it right now.
Everyone's just excited to see Miss Hustle back in the chat.
Yep.
Saying hi to Miss Hustle.
So, Paul, you want to give a hint?
Well, like you said, we've mentioned him tonight.
Was it comics with Bueller? No, not him.
No. What?
I love the vest.
I believe he wrote this book.
So Brett Hessart says himself. Barbarian Kung Fu says, was it Bueller?
It was me. They won.
They won.
No, it wasn't me.
Actually, it was Stewart, I believe. Wasn't it, Tom?
Grant Morrison's editor-in-chief on Suicide Squad?
Editor on Suicide Squad.
Editor on Suicide Squad. He didn't write Suicide Squad that I know of. I'm so very sorry.
That was a
Are
good
you thinking
question.
of the Doom Patrol?
Doom Patrol. Damn it.
Doom Patrol? Woo.
All right.
I know who. I can name one of the editors of that.
I can name who edited issues 44 through 71.
So my question is, what now
I think Brad Hess got it in the chat.
Yeah. Tom,
Yeah.
Tom, what was it like what's it like working with Grant? Did you ever get a chance?
It's wonderful. We were very copacetic. We liked a lot of the same things, and his scripts were funny. to read, and he always put jokes in the panel descriptions and stuff. We talked on the phone a lot. He was just wonderful. We got along great. And he did some stories for the first issues of our AHOY Comics, some short stories in the back of them, which was a little reunion for us after all these years.
So one big thing in this industry, I mean, in this community or union, that I see a lot is people really going after what they call spec books. As a creator, what do you think about that, and what's your thoughts?
Spec books? You mean like chasing collectibles?
Yeah, they're chasing them and then they're flipping them. Most of them.
Yeah, I feel like that has nothing to do with me, really. I've never. When I was young and I loved comic books were really cheap. So I used to gross everyone out by just rolling them up and sticking them in my back pocket and sitting down. And I didn't care about what shape they were in or collecting every issue. I just wanted to read them. But if people want to enjoy comics in a different way from me, that's fine.
Nice.
That's good.
And with the boom of the entertainment industry, with the MCU and the DCU trying, do you foresee any of your books potentially going that direction?
I don't. When we're working, we don't think about it because I think it's kind of bad to like. I like comics should be for comics' sake. It's bad to try to use them as a stepping stone to something else. I love them too much. If somebody came up to me with a bunch of money and said, "Can we make a Wrong Earth movie?" I would say, "Yes, please hand me that money." But it's not something. It's not the end all.
I kind of think if you go into it with the mentality of looking for some other kind of expansion for it, it's going to kind of guide the story and instead of letting the story grow organically.
Might be. I don't know what kind of damage it would do, but it just feels wrong to me. It feels like a misuse of comics.
So earlier, Chad, what did Brett Hess win, Chad?
We have High Heaven 1, 2, and 3.
Whoa.
Nice. That's a good one right there.
1 and 2 are really hard to find.
Yeah, and the writer on that's pretty good too. I like that writer guy.
Yeah, he's pretty awesome.
You know, I'm not a fan. To be honest, I'm really not a fan.
That's pretty cool.
So do you have your trivia question there, Tom? Because I got another book that maybe you might want to give.
I do. There's a reason. This has been on my mind. It's a Silver Age Superman question. So get your grandparents on the phone. But
Grandma
there
Google.
was in the bottle city of Kandor. You follow me so far?
Mm-hmm.
There was a man who looked just like Superman, and he was married to an Earth woman who looked just like Lois Lane. Can you name them?
Ooh.
Of course you can't. It was 100 years ago.
I can tell I can't name them.
Wood?
Come on, let's see here. People are checking. People are typing it in on Google.
Oh, wow.
Like, come on.
I probably read the story, but I can't pull it out at the top of my head.
So
There
Tom,
were
was
quite a few stories actually, but most of them weren't very good.
Tom, was this something that was on your mind recently? Is that why you're bringing this up?
It is on my mind recently. After we answer that, I'll give you the boring explanation why.
Okay.
We have Barbie and Ken by Roman Curtis. No,
I don't think
That's
that's it.
them, but that's a really good guess.
Barbie Roman.
Nope. Nope. They were introduced in this really cheap story too, in this early Lois Lane comic, because this whole comic is about Superman and Lois Lane getting married, and really, they keep saying it's not a dream, it's not an imaginary story, it's not a hoax, it's really happening. And then it turns out in the end that it's two different people. It's not Superman and Lois Lane. Grr. It's kind of junk I used to put up.
We got a guest in here. Is this is Alex? Is that the right one?
Rosenthorn.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's not it.
Oh no.
Wow.
A hint is the Kryptonian man has a Kryptonian name, and the Earth woman has an Earth name.
Splash page guesses Abbott and Costello.
Actually, an American name.
Alex said he didn't hear the question, but guessed anyway. Apparently.
All right. Get 2 more seconds. 1,
1,000.
2. All right. Nobody got it.
Can we?
Sorry, that was a hard one.
Terry
I
had
knew it was a hard one, but I figured people would just Google it. But
unfortunately, you're too honest, Tom.
My twin brother Dixie.
Yeah. Well, they'll learn.
Dixie, Dixee, Dixie.
Well, his name was Van Zee.
Van
Zee. And her name was Sylvia. And sometimes they would go to the Bottle City of Candor and visit Van Zee and Sylvia.
Oh my God.
And Van Zee, looking just like Superman, would sometimes come to Earth and impersonate him for a good purpose.
He had like a green upside down triangle on his chest.
Yeah. The reason Van Zee and Sylvia have been on my mind is this week somebody sent me an obituary for a woman named Sylvia Van Zee.
Whoa.
And all I can think of is that she had to be friends somehow with Edmund Hamilton, who wrote their first story.
Mm-hmm.
So Sylvia Van Zee, I am sorry to report, has passed away.
Small world, isn't it? You know, when you see a name like that and it brings you back to one of your childhood stories and you're like, whoa, this is pretty wild.
Yeah. I mean, it has to be. It can't be a coincidence.
Yeah, it's like digital reality, man. Something's out there pulling them strings or something.
Well, Tom, I want to thank you for spending. I know you had a limited time with us tonight, and I want to thank you. I'm going to give you some quick parting questions. Who's your favorite character of all time?
It's probably Superman.
Superman?
Yeah.
Favorite Superman in a movie?
Oh, Christopher Reeve, of course. But I love George Reeves. He was Superman when I was little.
And then last but not least, will you join us again when we get this Google Hangout happening?
Sure. Be happy to. This is fun. You're nice people.
Thanks, Tom. Appreciate you coming on.
Boy, do we have you fooled.
Yeah. Just after you get off here, Tom, just watch the rest of the show.
It goes a whole different direction.
Can I get one last quick question in?
Sure.
Is there any plans for, maybe they're already out and I have not seen them, but is there any plans for trades or hardcovers of any of the Ahoy comics?
Yeah. We're gonna have collections coming out.
Awesome.
And so anything you missed, you will be able to see.
Excellent.
I should also add too that if you can't find our comics, we're on Comixology too.
Yes.
So
watch out for
no
that guy.
excuse.
Watch out for that guy in the dark square. He likes Marvel comics.
What?
No.
No.
I'm just not even going there.
I like Marvel comics. They're good. They're good.
Yeah.
Occasionally.
They're not as good as Ahoy comics.
So Ahoy Comics, we have the link in our description below. Check them out, guys. The Wrong Earth, Captain Ginger, High Heaven, and Poe. Awesome. Thank you again, Tom. I appreciate your time. Look forward to seeing you and talking to you again soon.
Thank you very much. It was fun. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you, Tom.
Thanks.
Okay, now hopefully he turns off his camera.
There goes, he dropped.
Awesome interview. Damn.
All right, so
that was awesome.
before we get going on how we normally do this show, I have a bunch of special thanks to send out to a bunch of special people that are in the chat. Like, one, All About Comics. I want to thank you guys for giving me a shout out on your show last night and being in the chat. Drew Manchu, thank you for sending me a personal text. Guys, we're sorry that we were having difficulty. There was a ton of guys that wanted to be on the panel tonight. And as the time got closer and closer and Mr. Tom had some issues, technical difficulty, I apologize that we couldn't accommodate everybody, but moving in the future, we have a ton of new guests coming on, and we're going to talk about that tonight. So for those guys that were looking to join in the chat, we've already sent the link out to you guys. Come on, join us. Let's talk comics and kick back and talk about anesthesia.
Yeah. Okay.
Chad is my guy. All right, let's get the show rolling, guys. First, I want to get to the chat real quick.
Wait a second.
You got to introduce the 35-time world heavyweight champion. And I'm talking the great legend, baby.
It's 39.
39 and feeling fine. The great legend's coming at you live from Comic Core tonight, where we just interviewed the one, the only AHOY Comics. Man, that's what I'm talking about. Tom Bueller. What's his last name? Bueller?
No, his name wasn't Bueller. But with that, we got another announcement. So Bueller inspired us. He's like, Chad, you got to get. I cost money to be on the show, and I was like, okay, well, what's the demands? And he's like, we need some sponsorship. What? What? You know it.
I remember it. I remember you said it, Bueller.
So I want to give a shout out to our first and only sponsor, New Dimension Comics. They have 6 great stores in the Pittsburgh region: Pittsburgh Mills Mall, Elwood City, Cranberry Township, Century 3, Butler, and Ohio Valley Mall. They also are going to have Three Rivers Comic Con, putting the comics back in comics May 11th through the 12th, 2019. With that being said, they gave us a ton of prizes, and guess what? I was off today, so I sent everybody shit out today. So you guys are gonna get your stuff. If you guys want to join the show, come on. Let's get to the host, Kat Wren, the nastiest chick in the game, and also the toothpick tossing, eyebrow raising, step on the gas. He's gonna kick his ass. Dare to defy 19, whatever. Seawood. I'm out.
All right. Thanks for that, Chad.
Wow.
Can I get back to the chat?
Yeah, follow that up.
All right. So we've got All About Comics once again. It's great having you in the chat, man. We got Pope Grimy. You're going to get chair shot. We got Drew Manchu. We got The Architect, Sam's Tangled Web. We've got Aggressively Relaxing. We've got Pocan Joe. Sorry, I'm getting a random call from Drew. He's excited I shouted him out, I guess. We got Good as Gold. He said Grant Morrison was awesome. I don't know what show he watched. We got Brett Hessart, Jeffrey Comic-Con Henson, Bake, the Snake. We got Samantha Branch, fully funded Kickstarter in the chat. So once again, big congrats to her. We got a Poor Man's Comics. He's shouting out Lois and Clark, The New Adventures of Superman. We got Double S Comics Reader, Alex the Comic Hoarder. The list goes on, Miss Hustle. But I want to get into some picks of the week. So I'll go ahead and start with, I guess, now Chris and co-host. Kat, what did you read this week?
All right. So since I have switched over
Mark,
to
are you okay?
He's fine. He's fine.
Mark.
Everybody just wants to see Mark. But since I switched over to Midtown, I am waiting on this week's polls and everything. But I did manage to stop by one of my local LCSs, and I did pick up a couple books that I had to get my hands on. So first is Shazam.
Damn!
Shazam. I'm still waiting on my variants for that. Next, wasn't really sure if I was going to pick this up or not, but Prodigy issue 1, Mark Millar and Albuquerque. I really wasn't sure with some of the like leaks getting into this about what I was going to think about it. I actually really loved it. The art was solid throughout, and I'm really excited to see where this goes moving forward. And one that I think definitely everybody should pick up if they have not already, and that is Martian Manhunter.
Especially if you like alien tentacle sex.
Yes, there is some very gratuitous alien tentacle green slime everywhere alien sex in the panels.
Be a big seller in Japan.
And it's definitely in your face.
Oh, you're gonna show him.
I'll find it. I don't care.
This is a family show, all right?
Not anymore.
Hide the kids.
No, I won't. It's fine.
Damn.
Oh, well, wait a minute. Wait a minute.
What is that? Who was that? Was that
If
Pope
I may
Colin?
have your attention, please. I have just received an email from the anonymous Raw giveaway manager. And I quote, Chad, what are we giving away this time?
Kat, what do you want to give away?
Kat, what do you want to give away? Cat.
All our giveaways have been donated to us by New Dimension Comics. Their link in descriptions in the below. Check them out. They're our new sponsor.
They're Pittsburgh's finest comic book shop, so make sure you check them out if you're in the Pittsburgh area.
With a little foray into Ohio.
Ooh, you said cat.
So we have the Lion Cat that purrs.
All you speculators, this is from the comic book known as Saga Image Comics. Or Sega.
Sega.
So yeah,
I really
the Lion
want that
Cat.
stuffed animal, though.
If you press the button, it either purrs or
I need to order that now.
It says lying, lying, lying in the voice of the artist of Saga.
Mm-hmm. I think, you know what I think? Since Drew just joined, he always has great history, great questions. Let's have Drew ask the chat. Chad, what do you think?
Drew, it is all yours.
Okay, well, this creator is the...
Hi, Drew.
Hey, Bueller. Wow. Hey, you threw me off there.
I thought he looked... you know what? I thought the same. I thought he looked just like Dave.
What?
Come on, little Dave, Blaster Sashes. Come on, little joke there.
Oh,
Keep up with us here.
All right. So on the Saga tip, this is a Lion Cat plush. It does talk. The creator of Saga is a writer. And what is his name?
Ooh,
good question. Let's see.
I think you just inked a deal today, too, if I remember right.
Inked a deal? What kind of deal? They're going to make a movie?
What are they doing? What's that mean?
Baked snake.
Bake the snake.
There it is.
Coming through Ryan Cavon.
snake.
Bake the snake. Send it to one comic cord, and I'll send it out tomorrow.
Meg's going to get him a little lion cat. So cool.
Small piece of trivia about
Oh,
Yeah, I guess
Again, our prizes were brought to us by New Dimension Comics. Link in
New
the
Dimension.
description
And
below.
when you told me about this lion cat thing, I actually wanted it for myself. I mean, that any fan of Saga would want the lion cat in their own house.
Yeah, I think
Well,
we're all
I'm
going to go and
shocked.
order it now.
Better than that one.
So, let's see. Who got done doing a show earlier? Hey,
Bueller.
Bueller. Do you have any picks of the week?
yeah, a few.
They were great.
So my pick of the week is episode 3 of the Drew Manchu show that just came out. Very much enjoying his new show that he's doing. I've watched all 3. I even watch it on normal speed. Normally I watch on double speed, but
don't give away the secret.
when it comes to Drew, I got to get the whole thing. So that's my YouTube pick of the week right there.
I'm going to
But,
talk slower so you can speed it up.
I read, as far as my pick, I like the Justice League number 13. I enjoyed this book. I enjoyed the Batman Who Laughs was in there. Not only was there a preview for the new issue next week, but he's actually in the book as well as far as part of the storyline. And I just like that they're doing the Legion of Doom, and we're just getting to. I like the villains, like Joker and all that good stuff. So that was my pick of the week, and I started to read this one, and apparently I kind of put it down because the art didn't really do it for me. But then I found out that there's like some Martian intercourse, so I'm going to read it. So thank you for the information, everybody. This is my sleepy time comic for later. So there you go.
The art is a lot to get used to, but I mean, the story is really good.
Very cool.
There's a lot.
Anyway, those are my picks. That's all I got. That's it.
Yes.
And someone else. There you go.
Paul, what's new this week?
I haven't read anything.
No, actually, I have. And not to be cliche because of our guest, but I read all 4 issues of Wrong Earth, front to back, and the story is really awesome. It's really blowing me away. I think it's something everybody should at least pick up one issue and take a look at it because it's really good. Like you said, it's funny, but at the same time, it's got some incredibly violent moments. It's got a good story. And as far as I always do a back issue pick of the week, all my years of collecting, I've never had an underground comic until now. I got this for $1. It's an issue of Fabulous Furry Freak Brothers. And the main story in it is grassroots, and they're not talking about what you mow. So
I get it.
That's my back issue pick of the week.
Yeah,
Legend, do you get it?
Yeah, he does.
Yeah, he does.
That's right, baby. 420 all day, every day for life.
Legend, did you read a certain book this week?
It's been a long time coming. And here's the thing. I mean, there was so much goodness in this book. There was some little jokes here and there. I mean, man, stupid thing was on mute. But anyways, I hope y'all can hear me. Great stuff. Great comic. So let me give you a little picture of this thing so y'all know. Put it on the screen and everything. We got cover B. I know y'all like that cover B. Gary freaking Frank. Of course, y'all know the work he did in the New 52. There he is. Carson's got it. Put it on Carson's screen, and I'll be the voice of Carson's beautiful gulak face. But man, Shazam was where it was at. I love the story. You did, and it was kind of I thought it was kind of a continuation type thing, but if you didn't read the New 52 story, I highly encourage you to do so. The Jeff Johns, Gary Frank, you can pick it up in hardcover or trade, and it's easier than reading it through the Justice League issue 7 through 12 or whatnot. But great story. They had a lot of funny parts. I don't want to give the story away if you haven't read it, but the second story, and you may see this happen, especially if they bring out Monster Society of Evil, which they've kind of hinted toward they're doing, but you'll see the story start. The first part will be the main story, and then they'll have a backup story. The backup story, I'm not a big fan of like manga or whatever, but they had some manga art, and it looked in it, and I was, I kind of dug it, because it's like characters I liked. But it talked about Mary's, kind of how she got into her foster family with the Vasquez family or whatever, and how she, learned, and kind of her little intro into the Vasquez family. But yeah, definitely check it out. Shazam, Justin, read the book, get it before the movie.
I wonder if they're going to change her last
copies. Get multiple copies. You got cover A, cover B, and the blank variants. So make sure you pick up a couple of blank variants just in case.
And a digital copy.
And a digital, yeah. Digital too. Read digital, read all the copies. That's good.
Get all the copies.
And the coffee.
And the coffee.
That's right.
Yeah, you will. Anyway.
Yeah, you will.
Yeah, he does. So, I guess, Carson, what did you get?
It's hard for me to pick just one pick of the week, so I'll just shout out a few real quick, and then I think I got one I'm going to pick. Green Lantern #2 is pretty solid. Basically, Hal interrogates a spider teenage girl person. It's pretty funny. Drew, I'm glad you joined the panel so I can talk about Doomsday Clock. Actually, I enjoyed this issue. I'm sorry, Drew. I figured why not mention it, but I know it had nothing to do with the Watchmen except for 2 pages, but I enjoyed John's writing Superman. I enjoyed the Gary Frank art, so there's that.
Was that Dexstar on the cover?
No, unfortunately not. That would have just put it over the top. Having Dexstar, awesome. Obviously, Shazam already showed that. Venom was a pretty good read. The symbiote is going around like a little pet dog now because its memory's been wiped. So fun issue there. But my pick of the week, I think, has to be Prodigy by Mark Millar and Raphael Albuquerque. For an issue 1, I mean, they knocked a home run out of the park. So he had great success, Mark Millar did, with Magic Order, and now with Prodigy again. So far, he's 2 for 2 in 2018, in my opinion. Definitely check this book out if you guys hadn't, basically it's just about a guy. He can basically just learn anything. Like, it starts off like he's in a soccer match. He got really good at soccer because he just watched it on TV and stuff. So he's able to adapt and become good at it. So the fellow team members didn't like that he was younger and really good at the sport. So they beat him up. So what's the guy go and do? Or the kid, I should say, at that point. He just goes and watches a bunch of kung fu movies. And then next week goes to school and beats them all up. And then that's how he kind of learned his origin story. And then you see by the time he's older, he basically just like owns everything and can do whatever he wants. He can jump the Grand Canyon on fire on a motorcycle. So like I said, I highly recommend this book. It's got a lot of cool stuff going on for it.
I think the best part of that Prodigy for me was he was arguing with his father, and his father just flung $1 worth of like coins at him, and he's like, "That's your inheritance now." Like, fine, I'll turn it into $1 billion.
Yep.
And clearly he succeeded.
So I'm quickly gonna go and give my books on, or I'll let Drew go. Drew, are you allowed to give a review, or are we saving those till Sunday?
I won't do some reviews. I'll do some highlights of the week, though. You guys are okay with that? I thought that Walking Dead this week was a mind blower of an issue, and if you read it, then you know exactly why I'd say that. Pretty fantastic stuff. Prodigy, I thought, was awesome. It's kind of on the fence about hopping on another Millar story, but yeah, it worked out for me. I bought it, but it was good. Legion of Doom, this Joker story is pretty badass. I'm liking where they're going with this. Trying to see what Lex is going to have to do to come back against the evils the Joker has planned for him. I think I might have been the only one that's still on board for X-Men with X-Jesus here. But, man, this is good stuff. The art is phenomenal. The writing has been consistent. And this story is starting to pick up steam, in my opinion. And, man, I had a Shazam-gasm this week, guys. Shazam was pretty good. I think I got a opposite opinion of Legend, though. I thought that the backup story, the art was better. That manga-style art really fit with the kind of chibi story they were telling. And it was heartfelt, and it was good. And I thought that the Mary backup story was actually better than the main course. Had a lot more to it, a lot more heart to it, in my opinion, than the main story. But we'll see where this goes. I said on my own show that the only thing that I'm really disappointed about with this Shazam family book is that Super Sons isn't really a thing anymore, and they can't cross over, because that would be badass. But yeah, some really good stuff came out this week, and some other surprises if you tune in on Sunday for my full reviews.
So I'm going to say Martian Manhunter was my pick of the week, followed by Freeze, Die, Prodigy, Immortal Hulk. Green Lantern does not do it for me. This art feels very like it's just stretched. And Shazam. And then I'm gonna steal it off of you, Drew, but my blast this week were X-Men and X-Men Christmas.
I love that X-Men holiday special.
That is absolute horseshit.
You know what?
I like the Star Wars holiday special too. Then
I mean, that baby's been a baby for 5 years.
Shogo, yeah. Well, I mean, come on.
It's bullshit.
It's
Anyway,
Maggie
moving on.
Simpson.
Great forever.
Okay.
I just can't take it. It was horrible.
Hey man, his mom used to be a vampire, isn't a vampire anymore, and got stuck in a mall that was run by Arcade, where she was going to be killed by like Santa robots and demons. And the thing you don't wrap your head around is why the baby hasn't aged in 5 years.
It's bothers the shit out of me.
Look, man, I actually really dug that X-Men holiday special. I thought that I wasn't gonna like it going into it, but every page being its own little snapshot and kind of like an advent calendar, it's kind of a cool deal. And there were definitely some pages that were less than the others, but overall, I think that it did the exact same thing you want a holiday special to do.
Legend left, but Bueller, what were you gonna say?
Well, I was just mad at me liking the X-Men holiday special. He's had enough.
I think it's the Shazam comments that hurt him.
The Shazam-gasm?
Bueller, you were going to say something?
No, I wasn't.
Bueller, can you make something up?
I'm sorry.
I just want to stare at the best.
I like that book. That one book. That's a real good
Oh,
book.
the one with the thing.
The one with
Yeah,
the thing and the guy with the powers. I like that.
It's got that cover.
Yeah, that guy. You should pick of the week.
Wait a minute. I have just received an email from the anonymous Raw giveaway manager. Chad, what are we giving away this time?
Well, whoa. We're giving them.
Hey, it's important to me too.
We're giving away.
Chad's Pornhub window just popped up.
We'll give away Silver Surfer. I don't know. Does this book mean anything?
It's all right.
Yeah, it does.
Infinity Gauntlet.
Oh,
Infinity
super,
crossover.
Chad? But wait, Chad, isn't there more?
why don't we give away the?
I
Whoa.
want that.
What does one have to do to get that?
Drew, since you're wearing the shirt, why don't you ask the question?
Oh, geez, I gotta ask another question.
You always have questions. You're prepared.
How big all their eyes is that?
Every time I ask the questions, you change the answers, though, Chad. And that's what's wrong.
Okay, wait, before we ask any questions, somebody mute Legend.
He hasn't talked. He's
Yeah,
not
but
saying-
yeah, every time we do a trivia question, he's I know
He
that.
shouts it out.
Well, again, this was brought to us by our sponsor at New Dimension Comics.
All right, who's the creator of Thanos?
Jim Starlin.
Jesus Christ.
Bueller, you win. Congratulations. This is going to Bueller.
Yeah, Bueller.
Bueller, will this be on coffee and cold ones?
All right, how about this? Who drew that cover?
Oh, there you go. That's a good one. All right.
I know that
let's see what
answer.
we got going on in the chat.
So I don't.
Hope
get
Grimy
it.
says F my life.
Hello. He didn't draw that. Grimy, he didn't draw that.
Hi, Bueller.
I know who did that cover.
That's not me.
GPAP guesses Perez.
George Perez.
Michael Porson also guesses George Perez.
Rob just got pissed and left.
It's because you muted him.
I did
John
not mute
Moser
him.
guesses Ron Lim.
Moser guesses Ron Lim. That's a Ron
There
Lim
you go.
cover. It's not.
Thought it was Ron Lim too.
I agree.
There we go.
Boom. Congratulations, Don Musser.
Guess I'm not getting my gauntlet.
No,
You got to get the stones one at a time, Bueller. Come on. Haven't you seen the movie? Hey, I'll do a Chad segue.
There's a movie?
What just happened?
Who's dropping stuff over there?
It's
Bueller. Gotta love Bueller.
It's
It wasn't me. It wasn't me.
He drops all kinds of comics this week on his show. I was
I
very
did
upset.
drop one. I did drop that one.
They must be hot books.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
were.
Hot pieces of crap.
Pieces of crap.
Yeah, they were.
I've had Mark edit that out of videos before when I've dropped books.
Yep.
Oh, I love it.
Let's hope you're nice to Mark.
So
She's always
Bueller,
nice
how
to me,
about
Bueller.
that Shazam book, Bueller?
I thought it
You
was
like
great,
that
but did you guys hear that Cat Ren let Mark get a haircut this week?
Oh, whoa! Wait a minute.
It looks good, right?
I have just received
I'm surprised you
another
let him
email.
get it done.
All you
Go
gotta
ahead,
say
Jay.
is,
You're
here's the
surprised you let him
here's the
outside?
prize. All you have to say is, I want this bullshit book.
I want
Just say I want this bullshit book.
You say,
Type it in the chat.
tap it. I want this bullshit book in the chat, and you get it. Both of them. This hot piece of garbage too.
All right, there you go, chat. Who's gonna type it in first?
Who wants that X Jesus?
I got that book.
Everybody's like, nah, I don't need that.
See, I
I got
want
that book.
Jean Paul AC.
Jean Paul.
Yeah.
Peter, baby.
He wants that bullshit book.
Yeah.
You gotta,
Oh, Canada, we're going to send it media mail. You should have it sometime in 2022.
Yeah, just whenever Jason can get his ass up there. Jason Smith, you know. If you know.
Big congrats
Thomas
to Jason
Smithers
Smith. He passed
All
that
right.
test.
Captain Segway, take it over.
So anyway, I think there was a movie trailer that came out today for Avengers Endgame. Sorry, had to make the joke. I've been thinking about it all day. So there you
there
go.
can be only one end game.
Yes, Connor better than Duncan. But anyway, what did you guys think of the Avengers Endgame trailer? I will start with
hot
you, Drew, because
bullshit.
you're on my screen right now.
Oh man, I thought it was great. I thought that it conveyed the emotion you wanted to convey without giving anything away. We learned absolutely nothing new about what's going on, and yeah, that ultimately makes me want to see the movie even more. I kind of don't want to watch any more trailers because I don't want any of it spoiled for me. I did share a meme with you guys in our chat earlier. It was the Vince McMahon Thanos meme. It was like, we no new characters, no action, nothing we haven't seen before. I love it. That's, I thought that it worked really well for what it is, and yeah, all it does is get me more hyped to see more about it. And yeah, man, it's doing its job.
Yeah, like I've been saying this whole time, I just want all they need to do for me is release something that tells you when this movie's coming out and it's going to make $2 billion. I kind of want to, I'd like to stay as spoiler free as possible, to be honest, but I just know going to this movie, you're going to see grown men cry by the end of this, and you're going to see cheers in the theaters and everything. It's going to be a great time. Chad, you were saying something about BS and that stuff. What did you think of the trailer, Chad?
Trailer was okay. I just think it's absolutely ridiculous that everybody's going after a Ronin book that was 4 months ago or 6 months ago was $1.
It's still sitting in quarter bins all over the country.
Oh yeah,
that's going to be my PSA of the day. If you guys are paying $50 for Ronin books, just go right now, find your half price books, your Second and Charles, your local shops, and dig through the bins. You'll find it. It'll be all right.
My PSA is if you're looking for those Ronin books and you're willing to spend $50, just PM me. I got a couple of them sitting in a long box.
I think we all do.
That's right, man.
Hear me.
Just
Big Papa Pump is up.
The next
found
hot
so
book on all
many
the
of them.
auctions.
in quarter bins and 50-cent bins that are all near mint. They're all fine, bagged and boarded.
The only problem is you're not going to find it on next week's Heroes auction. So
That's right, man. All of the items next week for Strictly Comics Presents Comic Book Community 2018 auction on the Great Legends Show. You know, we're raising money. 99 cents is what all the items are going to be starting at. All these proceeds are going to be going to the Heroes Initiative. The Hero Initiative helps comic book creators from, the past, the present, the ones that are kind of in the future. Everyone that gets down, or the creator can't create anymore, maybe has arthritis in the hand, or, maybe has a stroke or whatnot. Well, the Hero Initiative helps pay for all of those old time creators' bills and stuff like that, to let them know that they are appreciated. And, we're so glad, the things that they did in this comic industry that, we all love because of all these heroes from the past. And I'm not talking about the heroes of the comic books. I'm talking about the heroes, the creators themselves, all the things they've did to make this hobby, to make the comic book community what it is today. Beanies off to them. And big shout out to Edwin, Strictly Comics. You know, this has actually been a year in the making. I first found out about this Dallas Fan Expo. You know, Edwin, we sat by each other and we chatted a lot at the Dallas Fan Expo at the Last Supper of the Fan Expo. Yeah.
I was busy down the other end with Claudia.
I know, man. He was with Claudia, but boy, it was a great time. And me and Edwin talked about that and stuff. So, and Edwin had already had that thing planned, you know, months ahead of time. And I was fully 100% on board, you know, the first time he mentioned to me that night. And it's just so great that next weekend is going to be the weekend, you know, Saturday and Sunday. Make sure you check your calendars and be in front of the screen and watch youtube.com/rdaddy95 where the great legend is coming at you live. One of the men that have innovated the YouTube live auctions is going to be bringing it, and me and Edwin are going to have a great time. So check us out. Hero Initiative live auction. See Wooded MF 19 with the Austin 316 shirt. What's up, man?
I'll read a couple comments from the chat real quick before we get back to the topic. Pope Grimy, which I'm going to hit with the chair. He says, I like the Infinity Gauntlet comic references with the Thanos Scarecrow and him doing the gladiator walk through the wheat field. Absolutely same way, man. Gene Polly's Peter says, Hawkeye is like Charlie Brown. Everyone loves him, but no one wants to hang out with him. And then everyone in the chat was like, we got Drew Manchu. Hawkeye's the worst. Sam Stengel, love. I would hang out with Hawkeye. And JP says, I would hang out with Jeremy Renner's version. He's the family man as Ronan. LOL. So
Hawkeye is my favorite Avenger. I would hang out with Hawkeye. I love Hawkeye.
Mark, who's your favorite Avenger?
Look how he looks to Pat. He's like, can I tell him? Can I let people know? Is it okay?
Is it? I don't know. Actually, I'm gonna have to say Hawkeye is my favorite also. Not because you told me to say it.
He's the type that he goes to the doctor and they're like, do you feel safe at home?
Yes, I do.
No, we're a Hawkeye house.
You see how he leaned way back and was like, no.
We're a Hawkeye household.
Hey, he's a family man.
Twice if you need a rescue, Mark.
He's a family man. He's wholesome.
It's like, I like Hulk. Shut up.
You like what I say you like.
Guys, I don't understand why he thinks that she abuses me. She really doesn't.
Well, I'm a very intimidating person.
Yes.
She
right.
calls it foreplay.
Fox mug.
I am a very statuesque 5'5" now.
So what does the fox say?
Oh, I know. I've heard Fox. They're really quite annoying.
So we had the trailer that came out, and you know it brought a good point up. Earlier, somebody was talking about digitals. Like we've all been having this conversation, and I want to ask everybody, and I know it's been a topic, but we've had these conversations off airs and whatnot. But do you think it's eventually going to go the way comics are going to go the way of the arcade?
Are you referring to comics going away to like digital in-home type thing?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I mean, I'll jump in right there, and you know, we talked about this. And my opinion on the matter is, I think that all it takes is for one studio to say, you know what, we're just going to go digital, and that's all it is. So Marvel or DC says we're going to stop printing books, and we're just going to go digital, and because the Marvel and DC make zero money on the secondary market. All their market is based on new comic book sales and digital sales. They don't have, it doesn't matter to them whether it's a spec book or somebody goes out and buys it and flips it. They see no revenue. They see the initial order that Diamond submits, and then that's where their revenues come from. Down the road, I can see Marvel or DC saying, you know what, we're going to switch to just a digital format. I don't want it to happen, but I'm speaking of what I think will happen. It's very similar to the music industry. There was a market for used music. Okay, music companies didn't like that, so what did they do? They got rid of the physical media, and now it's all digital. Then they went to movies, same thing. They're all digital now, and now they're going to games.
VHS tapes.
And he wants his VHS tapes.
VHS. What about beta tapes?
Betas, cassettes, 8-tracks, all of it, man.
No, Bueller, you're absolutely right, and I feel that. I mean, if you're looking at it, like Napster came around, and it was the first one that put the music industry out. Then, as soon as Disney purchased Marvel, I mean, if you talk to your LCSs, ask them how. And listen, I'm not a Marvel hater. I've always liked X-Men. I've always gotten Spider-Man. Those are my two books that I read. I loved what Marvel was able to do when they took when they took I was looking at the chat, I'm sorry.
You just got lost.
No, I was looking at the chat and there was a link that Drew wanted to put in there and I had to make it visible.
Man, one of them red tube links again.
Oh, you can't share my link.
What's that? You don't want me to share it?
No, you can if you want.
No,
it's a Hawkeye debate video.
So no, but the point is, if you talk to your LCSs, Marvel is not helping them out. Essentially, they're hurting them. They're doing a lot of things for the Walmart. They're doing a lot of things for Barnes and Noble, and they're doing a lot of things that are not helping your LCSs. When the LCSs go to their conventions, Marvel tells them straight up, "We don't care what you think." And at the end of the day, Marvel's going to be the one that pulls that trigger that's going to go all digital, and that is going to trigger an effect. Because right now, I talked to an LCS probably a month ago. He said his October sales were down 200 transactions. Now that's not a dollar amount; that's transactions. And I said, "What do you contribute that to?" And he said, "Online." And I said, "Online comics?" He goes, No, streaming services. Netflix is the Daredevil videos. People they want things now. And when they're able to click on it, they'd rather do that. I mean, more and more people don't want to leave. I mean, attendance is down in sports because people rather watch it on TV. The media platforms are getting better, so it's causing people to trend away, and it ultimately it's gonna affect the industry. Now, if like Bueller said earlier, you talked movies, music, and now media. Of all three of those, comics is probably the least expensive, and they're not making any money. So why not make the change?
If I'm Marvel and I'm a fan of the physical copy, I love it, and I it's a hard conversation to have because we're all fans of holding the book in our hands. But if I'm Marvel and I'm putting out comics, I would pull the trigger and go all digital. And I'm speaking from working at Marvel or being the head of publishing at Marvel, not as a fan. I'm putting myself in their shoes. Because, like I said, they receive zero money on the secondary market. They only receive it one time when it's sold, and if they can just put out their product to where it's digital, to where the only option you have to get that comic is to buy a digital copy every single time. There's no secondary market. Why wouldn't you adopt that market as your main focus?
I think it's inevitable that both Marvel and DC are eventually going to go all digital. I think companies like AHOY Comics and other small publishers who, they want to make money, but they also do it for a love of the medium. I think you'll probably still see ones like that. Whereas Marvel and DC, all they care about is keeping their shareholders happy.
Well, they're a company. I mean, their main goal is to make money. I mean, that's everybody's goal is in society. A company or whatnot is to 99% of them is to make money, to appease their board of directors, to appease the stock shareholders, all that stuff. Obviously, if you can focus on a certain area that makes your stock soar or your shareholders are more money, that's where you should go.
And clearly for them, it's like with book publishers. I tend not to buy digital copies of books because they wanted to charge the same price as a paper copy. Well, it doesn't cost anything to produce a digital copy. Yeah. So they're making a ton more profit.
The majority of the cost on a digital product is avoiding piracy. You're not going to be able to avoid digital piracy. I think right now, the one thing that's keeping comics themselves afloat is physical copies. I think that when you go to a store and you buy a physical copy of a book, they're getting that money. Whereas most people that I know that read digitally pirate a lot of stuff. I feel less bad about pirating a digital comic than I do about going into a store and lifting one off the shelf. I don't know why that is. Maybe because I feel like I'm not getting anything, so I'm getting the experience. It's not something physical. I'm not stealing anything. I guess a lot of people from our generation maybe feel that way about digital media. But you're talking about if you go all digital, comics are going to disappear very quickly.
But
they're going to disappear quickly
plus you
because
also have the fact
there's going to
that
be no business model for it.
But if you think about that, Drew, so I think it was Jacko had a comment that DC in Walmart, yes, but Marvel can't work with Walmart. So Marvel's pushing everything more and more towards the bookstores, and they're focusing on trades. What if you do get comics, but unfortunately they're going to be the trades?
Right. Well, here's the deal. I think that they'll continue to make money on the trades. I think that I would assume that the largest portion of Marvel's income is selling trades to big box stores like Barnes and Noble and Target and that kind of thing. And they're probably making way more money off of that than they are off of making single issues for LCSs. It just based on the price point and the foot traffic that's going into these locations. You're going to sell twice as many, X-Men Volume 1s in Barnes and Noble as you're going to sell in LCSs around the country. I just think that's just stupid, simple business sense there. They're focusing on that because that's where the money lies. A lot of LCSs have a negative connotation of Marvel in their variant game, but that variant game that's for the LCSs. Maybe they're not doing the best they can to support these stores, but incentive variants that's for stores with high sales. If you're not pushing your sales and you can't get those variants that some stores chase, and I understand the stress that comes along with that, but for as far as the single issues, they're like you said, Marvel Comics is not making money off of printing single issues. It's not a profitable sum game for them.
So why are they still doing it?
Because it's something that they've done forever, and it's a business model that is sustaining itself. It's not a growth model, from what I understand. It's not losing money, but they're not making money hand over fist over this. They make more money off of Spider-Man backpacks than they do off of Spider-Man comic books.
Absolutely, they do.
And they make more on one movie than they make in the entire year of selling comics.
Exactly, but this is a place for them to cultivate IP. It's a place for them to also cultivate creators and people with ideas for building the future of these IPs.
Now, do you think that it's they can't do that with the digital medium? I mean, is that what you're saying? Because here's the thing: I don't think
they necessarily can't.
When music switched over to digital, I didn't stop listening to music. When I couldn't rent movies down the street, I didn't stop watching movies. And now I don't want to go to GameStop and because I can just download Red Dead Redemption on my machine. A comic book file is the smallest file out of all those that you can download. That should have been the first to go because it's all gone, and depending on how big the file goes and the internet type speed. Like I said, I'm not advocating for this to happen. I do not want it to happen because I don't have a digital copy, and I don't ever want to buy a digital copy of a book because I think that's totally against. But I'm looking at it from a business model, and I'm saying that the day is coming, and we're going to just have to deal with it. And there was a comment in here by Economics to Comics, and he said that if that day comes, the physical copies of the books are going to skyrocket, from the older ones type thing. And I think he's probably right because it's like, they stopped making comics, and it's bad. I'm not looking forward to it, but I look at my kids and think, okay, in 10 years, there's a good safe bet that majority of stuff is going to be all digital on your phone, on your tablet or whatnot. And that's what their collection. And I'll give you another example. My nephew, who's 21 years old, came into town. And he's like, hey, you want to see my copy of, or you want to see my collection of comics? I'm like, oh, cool. You collect comics? He's like, yeah. He goes, let me show you my collection. And he pulls out his tablet and he shows me his digital collection of comics, hundreds and hundreds of comics, not one physical thing. And he didn't see anything wrong with that whatsoever. And I just about hit the kid in the face.
Space saver.
Yeah. Space saver. But
now here's my thing about digital, and a lot of people don't realize this, but more and more people are. This is why I don't like digital. When you purchase a digital copy of anything, you are not buying that item. You are buying a license to use it. So like you were mentioning Red Dead Redemption, I can just download it. Well, at any point, they can say, you no longer have the license to use that, and you get nothing. So you paid $70 for that game, and it's just gone. So I have a real problem with that. If I purchase something, I want it to be mine.
I agree, but I can't cite an example of that.
Oh, I read news stories all the time. Like there was one I was reading today about a guy
multiplayer game.
He had bought a number of movies in Canada on, through Amazon or whatever, and he'd spent like $300, and all of a sudden he logged into his device and all the movies were gone, and he called them up and they said, yeah, we're no longer licensed to have those in Canada. Do you want 2 free rentals?
Wow.
You do not own that item.
Yeah, you don't own any of the downloads that you see the small print in there. But the problem is, I'm not hating on Marvel when I say this, but Disney doesn't do anything that doesn't make money. They want to see what the ROI is, and they want to see what profitability are. They're going to continue this right now, where I see Disney is going to run into a little bit of a problem, but thank God they got the X-Men and they got Fantastic Four back. But if they hadn't got those characters back, the B characters that they have, I don't think they would have been able to carry it. You're going to see, until X-Men and Fantastic Four come out in the theaters or whatever they plan on doing with it, it's going to be really driven to that audience.
Well, here's my take on it. The future is the future, and every breath we take one step closer to that future, that determined future in your life. Now, all this stuff you are talking about, like Bueller said, it's all going digital. That's the system. That's actually that's the system. I mean, I'm just saying, the beast system, all of it's coming. It's all going to be on computer. You're going to be plugged into that digital world. You're going to be inhaling the stuff, man. You'll put the VR goggles on and you'll read the comic with VR.
You could stay.
Well, how many people on the panel or in the chat currently read digital comics?
I read some digital, not too much, but my library does have a Comics Plus library edition, so I read quite a few digital.
I read some digital. I mean, you get DC streaming service, you can read back issues and stuff. No,
I haven't read any.
If I can't find something, sometimes I'll pirate it. Only if I can't find it, and
I also have read some Golden Age stuff that's in the public domain, just because it would be prohibitively expensive to pick it up.
Does the High Heaven count?
Yeah.
I did just read that one. But that's an anomaly.
I'll admit, I really enjoy like Marvel Unlimited. You get that month. It's kind of like a Netflix-based subscription service. And sometimes, just finding the older comics, sometimes they're so brutal you don't want to read them. It's kind of nice just to have that digital copy, so you don't have to go through the brutal pages. But I guess what I'm talking about. My 2 cents on this whole thing is, as much as I love physical comics like this, all good things must come to an end eventually. Probably not in our lifetime, but maybe the one after that. I could see it going completely digital, because like Bueller was saying, why weren't comics the first thing to really be impacted by the digital rise like video games are, especially music. And the chat's really talking up how is this going to impact just the culture, especially the recent boom of Comic Cons. And unfortunately, I think we're already seeing, for instance, like Wizard World, it's going more toward the pulp culture aspect of it, where you're selling more action figures, pops, T-shirts than your dollar bins, your walls of comic books. Like I just went to a con last Saturday, and I was expecting I went to it 2 years in a row. And last year it felt like a comic trade show. This year they had maybe 10 to 12 total comic vendors, and that was probably like 1/3 of your vendor floor. Everything else was just pure merchandise.
Well,
so I think
seriously, the granddaddy of them all, San Diego Comic-Con, has very little to do with comics anymore.
Yeah, you kind of see a lot of this stuff slowly being phased out, unfortunately, even at the Comic-Con level. So it's inevitable. I really hate to say it, but in terms of the whole thing being skyrocketed, if comics all of a sudden tomorrow went digital, I think you'd see a huge spike in terms of collectability and prices. But I think there'd be a lull point in between, like when they just become antiques, that eventually people maybe just stop collecting. And there'd be people like us out there who try to hoard everything, but I think eventually you just have your antique dealers after that.
We've talked about money, where money plays the big factor with the comic books. And, companies are, like the Marvel, DC, they're making some money selling these paper copies. But if you look at the Earth's resources, how many trees are we going to be killing just so fucking Marvel can print 50 to 100 damn variants? You know what I'm saying? How many fucking trees are we killing? And how much ink are we wasting? I mean, hell, I have to pay like $50 fucking for HP ink off Amazon.com, and I ain't done damn printed just a couple fucking pages. You know what I'm saying?
But so, I think
we can always recycle all the Valiant from the 90s that's sitting in the quarter bins.
Oh, there you go.
But to brighten up everything, I guess, I think comics will be around for quite a while. Don't get me wrong. I mean, right now, I feel like, for instance, the Marvel model, I feel like I'm kind of triple dipping in terms of, like, say I have this copy of X-Men. I'm going to go to the store. I'm going to buy this copy of X-Men. It's a wonderful copy. Then 6 months later, I get to read it again on my Marvel Unlimited if I want to. And then right around the same time, I can go to Barnes & Noble. I can go to Books A Million, and it's going to be in trade format. And then 2 months later, it'll be in a hardcover format. So there's people out there who actually buy multiple versions. So yeah, there's a lot of money to be had in their current formula for them.
Well, I mean, the other thing that's hurting the LCSs is also the distributor. I mean, Diamond's killing them just because of the sheer amount of damaged books.
Yes.
And the books that they're getting are, I mean, half of them are destroyed, especially this week. There was, I think, 3 boxes out of 20 that were destroyed in my one shop. But Midtown doesn't have that problem.
Usually doesn't.
No, Midtown sends you that problem, but they don't have that. They don't have that issue because they get them direct.
Did you ever hear back on that book, by the way, Catherine?
I need to, because I got into contact with them versus. Okay, so small story. I had a corner that was completely missing off of the back of one of my books that I just got from Midtown, and I need to email another person from their customer service, but they do have me as a damaged book or whatever. So it's in the works. But damages from Diamond, and Diamond honestly just not really caring, is a big reason why I left my LCS that I had before. Just because I think that everyone that just worked the shop was just over it, and they're like, look, these are the books, this is how they're coming, this is what we're going to sell you. And I just got sick and tired of dealing with crappy books when I got them, or just not getting certain things at all. Like,
yeah, I think there's 2 types of comic store owners when they get damaged books from Diamond. There's the ones who see all their income coming from gaming, and they're like, fuck it, let's just put these on the shelf. And then you have the ones that say, I'm not selling this to my customers.
Like, example.
You return damaged copies to Diamond, though. Any LCS has the ability to return damaged copies to Diamond. They'll replace them too. They'll even have.
But you have to hit the deadline by 12. Say you're a bigger shop, and it's the day of, you get the books. You have to have your shipment checked in. Now they have to be checked in before 12, and your damage has to be submitted by 1 o'clock. Here's the problem: it's Christmas time, and now you have UPS and FedEx who's going to be delivering your well, mainly UPS is going to be delivering your books at 12:59. You have 1 minute to check in all those books, see what's damaged, and then connect it. Or guess what? You get another one. You get another day on Thursday. By the time you go to submit those on Thursday, oh, we're already sold out. I mean, that actually has killed books. Today we had Tom on from AHOY Comics. Their number 1 sold out. Their number 2 sold out. The number 2 went to second print. When they brought it back, they put it up. Diamond put it up after they put the Ironheart, right? The Iron Girl, Iron Woman, whatever.
Riri.
Yeah. So there's another prime example.
Damn.
Here's an example on that book, on when Riri's book, or whatever her name was, when her book comes out. It was originally priced at $3.99. That book had to be submitted and ordered by 1 o'clock that day. At $12.58, they changed the price to $5.99. So your LCSs now they had a huge order. Hey, this is going to be a spec book and whatnot. And now they're like, what the shit? I didn't want them. Well, hey, it came in under the hour. And that's exactly what Marvel said, and Diamond supported them.
And then all the comic book community probably bought that spec book.
Look at it this way. If I'm giving you my $3.99, my $4.99, sometimes even $5.99 and above, I don't need a 9.8 every freaking time. But
yeah, we can't all be winners.
I would at least like a near mint minus book from a brand new book that I'm just pulling off the wall.
So I think there's another thing that taking
like if it's going to be damaged, I'd prefer I damaged it.
I think that the quality of the books themselves aren't as good as they used to be. And I think that
the paper quality, definitely.
Yeah, the paper quality is just, you know, they're getting damaged because the books just aren't as well done as they used to be.
Yeah, and I mean, part of it is this is essentially the you're seeing the problem with a monopoly. You know, people complain to Diamond and says, "Deal with it." Who else are you going to go to?
Mm-hmm. There's no one else.
Drew had a good point on Blasted Slash and a couple. Oh crap! This was when DC.
Wait! You think I had a good point? I want to settle
Relax, pal.
So, DC went to that paper stock. You went on a rant about that.
I can't stand it.
I mean, is it borderline like newspaper?
It's like it's like gas station single ply. It's not. It's rough. It's the matte print on it is just it doesn't
still has
do the art
in it.
any. It just doesn't do the art any favors. It doesn't present nearly as well.
I like matte print. I like matte print, man. I don't like glossy pages.
Economics and Comics said Diamond sends replacement for damaged books. That is true if they have them. And
Marvel got them shitty pages.
But the bigger shots get them before anybody else. So unless your orders exceed over 1,000, you're not going to get it.
Yeah, they definitely.
Look, man, I understand that some people are having trouble with their books being damaged and their LCS is not being able to come through with replacements. If that's an issue for you, I feel bad for you. But I visit 3 LCSs on a regular basis. I have never, not once, ever had an issue where my LCS can't accommodate me and can't get me books that aren't damaged. Not once, not ever. Maybe I'm just super lucky there.
So here, I got a question. I got a question for everybody on the panel and the chat. If we were to have Diamond on the show, straight up hard hitting questions, does anybody want to do that?
I can probably get you somebody from Diamond.
I'll get you some Red Diamond, the hearts and souls of man.
What is going on?
Elder Scrolls, come on.
I don't think they want me on that
Skyrim,
one.
I don't know.
I don't think they want me on that one.
Cat Ren, I absolutely do.
Okay, I think
don't
the
think you'd
Diamond
have
Press-
to-
The answer is yes.
Balance of asking
Okay.
hard questions without being antagonistic.
I think
Absolutely.
Diamond
I
would be
won't be a
reticent to
dick
send
to
somebody
him.
on as a representative, but we could probably make that happen.
I think it's fair to ask them hard questions, just like Kat said, not be a dick to them.
So I will reach out to them this week and see if I could possibly get them on within the next month.
Gotta dress up like I'm in the Monopoly guy. If anyone want a free digital comic, I took a code out of my X-Men #4.
Did the Monopoly guy? Does anyone remember the Monopoly guy with a monocle? What about the monocle Monopoly guy?
Don't tell me he doesn't have that monocle, Legend.
I don't know. It could be the Mandela effect. I just don't know.
You thinking he doesn't have a monocle? The Mandela effect. He's got a monocle.
He still has a monocle.
There you go. Someone enjoy X-Men, Uncanny X-Men #4. There you go.
Why didn't I get that?
There's your code of the week. Now it's a 9.4 instead of a 9.8. I'm sorry. I tried to do it so White Gloves couldn't see me doing that.
You always did like 9.4 better than 9.8. I'll never figure you out, Gulak.
9.4. Never.
Gulak's trying to save a couple bucks. Just save a couple bucks on those books, baby.
Yeah, he is.
Bueller, what's your thoughts with the damage and Diamond?
They shouldn't do it.
Here.
You heard it here first.
Bueller, right on top of things.
Yeah.
It's like Beavis and Butthead.
What do you think about serial killers, Bueller? They shouldn't do it.
They shouldn't do it.
I think, like I said, I think I've seen a lot of books come into the shop. I've unpacked some when I help out the shop and stuff, and God, they're just like I'm taken back by the quality of the book. That's what gets me. Both Marvel and DC, the quality of the book and the paper stock that they're using, they're gonna get damaged. No matter what Diamond, it's Diamond's fault as well, but it's now more of an equal shares fault just for the fact that they're using such poor quality paper and covers and stuff, to where before it was mainly Diamond was just throwing things around or something, but now I think it's kind of equal. So until they get like some better quality books, some better paper stocks and better covers, like the new 52, a lot of the covers on there I like quite a bit, or like the Doomsday Clock that just came out. That's a nice thicker cover that protects your book better, So I think what was the question?
So do you like Gulak or Kane?
He likes them thick. He'll go with Kane.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah, I did.
So I think one of the worst boxes I've seen shipped by a Diamond distributor to an LCS, literally there were just comics that were bent up over other books and just crunched on the sides, and just they weren't even stacked properly to be in there.
Hey,
you know what's so funny?
Can you try something for me? Can you turn your hat around backwards? Because people in the chat are saying that's why we're kind of ignoring you, is because your hat's not on backwards. Hey, Bueller, how are you doing today? What's going on?
Welcome back to the Bueller Show.
In the chat.
Cool.
Where's my thing? Hold on. Here. There you go. Chad is my daddy.
You know what's great is
You're gonna make Mark jealous.
We've come so far as collectors. It's more of a collector's habit opposed to the whole reading thing. Because kids used to buy these books in the golden age. Paul knows, he was back in the golden age. I mean, they would roll them up, tear them up, put them in their back pocket, throw them in the damn toilets, read them in the bathroom. They would read them in the outhouse.
That's what Tom was talking about earlier. He said, I didn't give a shit. I just read them, put them in my back pocket, walk around.
Now they're all in Mylar, and they're all 9/8, baby.
Halfback?
I ain't gonna lie, and I'm one of those guys. I got a crap ton of Mylar, man. Man, I love bagging and tagging, baby. Having those books and having those looks, man. That's what it's all about. Keep it near mint, keep it proud. But hey, even the low grade is still proud. They're still good.
The Legend does rhymes. He rhymes things together.
Yeah, he does.
That's right.
He's like, let's just give Legend a word and see if he can rhyme it. How about that?
Orange.
Do not give me orange.
Mylar. There you go.
Mylar. All right, Mylar. You can only go so far when you're slapping on that Mylar.
Halfback.
Hey,
What comic?
You know what? Don't smoke crack when you need to be buying a halfback.
What? That's not one of your better ones.
Uh,
When you ain't good in the sack, you needed a fullback.
That was better. All right, Mark, your turn.
For rhyming?
Anything, Mark, just say something.
Rhyme.
Rhyme?
Rhyme.
another scene from a movie tonight with Chad and Mark.
What do you think about damaged books?
Oh, what do I think about Damaged Books?
Yeah.
I really think it's kind of entertaining to watch you freak out over them.
Make a video.
Say that.
Now, after that comment, the big question is, where is the cast going to be located on Mark next week?
Yeah, we can only see Mark from the torso up. That's it. We don't see anything from the down. He's chained up right now.
I'm calling eye patch.
He's
You
chained
guys
to
saw
the couch.
you guys saw the tree that he cut down at work?
Yeah,
puts
the
like
lotion on the
That's
skin.
that was a massissive tree.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
Like a
It was
lumberjack.
26 feet.
Yeah, and yet we still don't have a tree up in our house yet.
It's a long story.
He can't find one that fits.
Let's
The
all
one he
shame
picked
him.
was 26 feet. He's trying.
I am trying.
Yeah, you are.
Yeah, you are.
I have a Starfire Christmas ornament. Okay,
Yeah, you
that
do.
bitch needs to go on a tree.
Whoa.
You know, I would use them as target practice.
Whoa.
Man,
She's gonna hit you.
last week it was Bueller After Dark. This week it's everybody after dark.
How about the speculation, Woodard? What do you think about speculation on certain titles that are getting hot from the movie? Well, that's really nice. Let me tell you what I think. So, Fantastic Four #2 is an upgrade I need to make because my copy's in bad shape. I am going to be sending it to Paul one of these days, right, Paul? I don't know.
Hold
That's
on.
a connection of years in the making.
I'm holding my breath.
But that's the thing.
Don't do
Everyone's
that.
holding their breath on Fantastic Four #2. First appearance of the Skrulls. The new Captain Marvel trailer came out. I
Wait.
actually thought it was pretty good because their costume, her helmet, the green, costume looked like the original Captain Marvel. Oh, dude, did I just say that, Drew? I've been dancing the lamppost with you too much. But no, it actually looked like the male Kree Captain Marvel from the 70s comics. So I really dug that. I thought that was really cool. I can't even believe I'm giving positive stuff for this. Who's that girl JP loves? Who's the actress? Brie Larson? Yeah, looked pretty good, JP. Looked pretty good, JP. Drew, this may be a good movie to go see.
It's going to be the battle of the Captain Marvels.
But I am pissed that, the movies will raise prices of books. You know what I mean? It's kind of a
I got
letdown.
my copy of Fantastic Four #2 right here, buddy.
True Believers. You got that True Believers?
Yep. Look at that good
Damn.
stuff right there.
I do like that, and I went ahead and bought like a ton of the Fantastic Four True Believers.
Well,
I like those True Believer books.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Woodard,
okay.
all right, I'm sorry, Woodard. Sorry for the disrespect. I can only take so many damn botch little moves that Woodard always wins in the wrestling games somehow. But Woodard, what do you think about, spec books and how movies have kind of become the next age? We had the modern age, and we were talking about this, the Dark Knight and the Iron Man to the 2008. The speculative age. We're in 2008 to present day. We're in the speculative age. More comic book collectors are worried about 9.8 and the front cover than they are the book. I saw a great video Whitewell Comics did that was kind of a mashup video that kind of had that in there as well. What we're seeing that from 2008. We've always had variants and things of that nature, but I'm seeing it more and more that it's more about the condition, the investment, the almighty bottom dollar instead of the story and the interior artwork. Woodard, what do you think?
It's all right. No, okay. Anyway, just wanted to make sure. If someone is very happy paying $50 for a new Avengers first appearance, Ronan, hey, to each his own. That's great. If that makes you happy, go for it. If it makes someone happy, if I rip out a digital code and post it on there, I'm sorry to those that, they cringe when the comic's no longer a 9.8. Now it's probably like a
That made us all
9.0
happy.
because that sticker's in there. I'm so sorry. But hey, I just like reading the dang things for the most part. That's just me. But, hopefully at the end of the day, all this speculation and that type of stuff brings more people into the hobby and it keeps it growing is what I hope comes from all this. It sucks that, I would love to get what's a good issue of some. Everyone would love to go get Amazing Fantasy 15, but, Spider-Man has so many fans and speculators. Obviously, that's not, a possibility because, the growing speculation market and that type of stuff. That thing's just going to keep going up and up and up. So, it kind of sucks if you want specific books, but hey, whatever brings more people into the fold, I think that's great. But yeah, in terms of the ages we've been talking about, I was talking about on my channel on Tuesday how 2011 I thought that was point. I do now agree with you, Legend. 2008, I think if we were going to draw that fine line in terms of defining like a new age of comic books and what, pop culture going into comic books is, 2008 I think is a phenomenal year to put there because you have The Dark Knight, which basically that was the first comic book movie that was just a good drama thriller movie. Everyone looked at it, not as a comic book movie, just as a great movie. And then obviously Iron Man came and changed everything. Robert Downey Jr. being cast as Tony Stark. I think I saw someone's channel, I can't remember who right now. They had actually an interview with Mark Waid. He said that was the first time, like when Robert Downey Jr. was cast, like that the comics basically they wrote Robert Downey Jr.'s voice as Tony Stark instead of him intimidating or acting as Tony Stark. That was Robert Downey Jr. and it has been in the Marvel comics pretty much ever since. So, and then not to mention the rise of CGC and just the grading services and that being created as how we trade comics now. And then all of a sudden this also rise of comic cons or pop culture cons. I definitely think 2008 was a turning point in the industry.
I agree too, man. It's kind of like you got 2008, and then you got 2018, the rise of the Comic Core. Ain't that right, Chad? What's your thoughts on the speculation, baby?
I don't like it.
They shouldn't do it.
Shouldn't do it. I mean, hey, listen, Kat says it all the time. Collect what you want, like what you want. I just am not a big fan of turning in profit or that. I mean, there's a lot of other things I can do, but if that's your thing, go for it. Have fun with it.
The other way I look at it too, it's not like it's just in comics too. Like I actually got out of collecting video games because it's even worse in video games. Like Super Nintendo games, you can't even collect them anymore. Oh, you can get ET games for $1 still. Don't worry about that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like I would love to collect Super Nintendo, but
They
hey,
buried them in the desert.
Yeah,
that's where I got.
Didn't Marvel bury a bunch of trades next to those or something like that? I heard recently.
I mean, there's. So look at a Marvel trade and then look at a DC trade. Look at the prices and what you're getting in each of those trades. You're getting. Do you have any near you, Kat?
I have an Image trade, and
yep,
they are much cheaper.
I mean,
they are.
Yeah,
you're getting 3 issues in a Marvel for $59.99, and how much did you pay for that complete story?
I got this one. The price point is $9.99, and there's 4 issues in it.
All Marvel trades are 6-issue arcs. That's like their base model.
But you're still paying double the price.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
And they're making a ton of money. They're making a ton of money off of that. So why are they going to keep on printing books?
Look, I don't want to offend anybody's sensibilities as far as the media that they enjoy. I like a ton of Image books better than I like a lot of Marvel books. But when you're looking at Marvel versus Image, you're looking at Campbell's versus Great Value Soup at Walmart. You're buying a brand name. They can charge a premium for that brand name. They have brand recognition. They have a brand name that is global and permeates popular culture in just about every direction. So should they be charging that much for them? No, probably not. But I mean, people pay it.
Why is Mark on that side now?
What's up?
Is Mark okay?
Oh, I'm doing great.
Switcheroo.
You don't want to say what you said when you had me muted, do you?
Hey, let me tell you about 2013. I bought a Marvel.
Please
book.
do.
I bought
Tell
a
us.
Marvel
What did you
book.
say?
It was Fantastic Four #1, 5.5 CGC. I bought a Marvel book for $6,000, 2013. You know, I sent it off to Desert Wind to get old Stan the Man to sign it. He signed it. Then it was a 5.5 CGC gold label signed by Stan Lee, Fantastic Four, 1961, the first issue of the Marvel Age. Now, today's time in 2018, due to the speculating machine, that comic book is worth $20,000 on GPA analysis. Now, here's the thing. Was I speculating about Fantastic Four being bought by Disney? Fuck no. Fantastic Four is the world's greatest comic magazine, and that is the name over the title, the world's greatest comic magazine, and it's that way for a reason. It's the first book in the Marvel Age. So yeah, sometimes when you buy low, they just go high, and when they do, it's a big surprise in the great legend's eyes. Give me an amen, Chad. What's going on?
Amen.
Thanks, Chad.
Oh,
You know what's cheap? Beanie Babies.
Sure.
Babies?
yeah. Let's talk about that.
Yeah.
My cats have some.
Yeah, they carry around in the house all the time.
I'm excited. I'm allowed to drink a beer now. It's been long enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, what are you drinking?
Sam Adams White Christmas.
Oh man, you should check this stuff out right
Clink.
here. This is Reckless Ale Works. This is out of Columbia, Maryland. This is the Aspiring Redneck. We're gonna make beer great again.
Brett Hess says he wants digital Beanie Babies.
I want digital beer.
I think JP already made that joke.
All right, Paul had a topic at 10:48.
Yeah, Paul.
did?
You said at 10:48 you had a topic.
No, I'm saying we just broached a topic at 10:48
What?
or
What?
11:48 for you.
Oh yeah.
Do we have any more Do we have any more giveaways?
Yeah.
Sure. What do we want to give
Yeah.
away?
There we go.
Bueller wants a book.
What do you want, Bueller?
I just want a book.
How about High Heaven?
I want that one with the. I want the alien sex book.
You already had the alien sex book.
But he wants another copy.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna need another copy.
Those pages are gonna be stuck together tomorrow.
Yeah,
Oh,
That joke already happened in the chat, though.
Everyone after
You
dark.
can use his copy to.
I'm out of
bash
prizes
someone over
until
there.
next week.
Okay,
Thank
no
you.
more prizes.
Nice.
Thank you again.
I'm giving away another digital code. That went over well.
Well, let's see. Oh, here I can give a. No, I don't have shit.
Chad,
Yeah,
it's okay, buddy. It's okay.
I give away my cup.
No, you keep your cup. You keep your cup.
You might need that later.
Let that shit go, Bueller.
Hey, dude, that's how I live, man.
Who that says
That's how I
Stan
live.
Lee.
Too
And
soon.
he won.
Too soon. Too soon.
Let that shit go, Chad.
Wait a minute, time out. Is Stan Lee dead?
Yeah.
No, it's the Mandela effect.
Damn, I'm all messed up, man. Gotta love Stan the Man, though. Was that really the answer, though? Did you pick Stan?
Too soon.
Damn, I love it.
All right. That being said, it's 11:56. Should we go into final shout outs?
I think that's a great idea.
All right. What do you got going on your channel, Bueller? Are you giving away
Bueller.
anything this month?
What?
Shout out your channel, Bueller. What do you got going on?
I do this YouTube channel. It's called Comics with Bueller, and then I put videos up on a weekly basis. And you can find it on this platform called YouTube. It's very similar to the one you're on right now. Please join me anytime you have some free time. Don't forget to hit that like button. Subscribe if you like. If not, that's okay as well. That's all I have.
All right, thank you so much for joining us, sir. Drew, what's going on, man? You've been pumping out videos. What's going on your channel?
Man, I've done 3 videos in the last 3 weeks. That's more videos than I've done in like the last 8 months. So
Great
yeah.
videos.
Ah, thanks, buddy. I'm just, you know,
I love the intro. Love the intro.
Thank you.
Intro's cool.
I threw some stuff together. Started messing around with OBS. I might go live one day. Probably not. Whenever I do these video chats with myself and I record them, there's nobody who's up and about in the world. So yeah, going live is probably not a good idea. But I do that. But I also do Blaster Stash it on Sunday nights. You can find Midwest Comic Man there as well. You'll check out all my reviews there. And everybody set aside some time on the 30th of this month, the final Sunday. We will be doing our annual award show, The Stashies. So be sure to check that out.
Are they
as well.
What are some of the categories?
Some of the categories are DC Book of the Year, Marvel Book of the Year, Blast of the Year, Stash of the Year.
Oh, we can
Funko
give this
Pop
book
of
away.
the Year.
No.
We can do all kinds of stuff. If
Nope.
you guys have any categories you want us to figure out, just go ahead and let us know, and we'll make one up.
Best beard. Best vest. Best beat.
Best
All right.
best.
Before I'm done with my shout-outs, I just want to let everybody know that I'm from Baltimore, Maryland. I am a Baltimore Ravens fan. I have no faith in my football team, and therefore I bet somebody at work that if the Ravens make the playoffs, I will shave my beard. So if you guys see me without a beard, it's because the Ravens clinched the playoffs, and they found a way to not disappoint me and disappoint me at the same time. So
I as a Steeler fan, may take that bet. Because
you think they're going to make the playoffs?
Yeah, we're fucking imploding.
Yeah.
No, you're still better than we are.
Recognize
Hey, my
that
Bears
beard.
lost to the Giants last week. So
I did get the caveat that I can keep the stash, so I might be going Magna guy style.
I don't think I'd recognize you without the beard.
Big porn stash. That's awesome. Can you dye it?
Yes.
I might, yeah.
I'm on a
Can you
diet.
curl it?
Are you on a diet?
Yeah, you are.
Curl a little bit. Not long
Are you
enough
on
yet.
the Atkins diet?
Okay.
No,
No.
not long enough yet. We'll
Put
get
some
there.
pomade and curl it.
I'm
I
thinking
got
about
some
doing-
wax in the car.
I'm thinking about.
Yeah.
I think I'm gonna do the carnivore diet.
You should do that.
How about some shout outs to the chat?
Yeah, shout out to those guys in the chat. They are chatting it up.
30 watching. A lot of great thumbs up, man. We really appreciate y'all in the chat, man. The chat's where it's at tonight. Pocan Joe, he likes it fast, not slow. Mr. Gretzky 9966, you know he loves sucking
Banana splits.
banana splits.
Good
That's
save,
right.
Chad.
Good save, Chad, man. Back to Chad on that one. Good save. Almost got cut loose on there.
Economics and comics and sick.
Okay, great.
Crash and
Pringles.
shout like that right now, Chad.
Pringles
What?
chips diet. Yep.
So what's going on Cat Run Figures channel for final shout
Okay. Just so I can show her off and how amazing she is and how she needs a tree. This is my brand new Starfire Christmas ornament.
Hey, in a couple
hint,
weeks,
hint.
you're gonna be dressed up like that.
Yes, I am.
That's exciting.
Hint, hint, wink, wink to the people at DC and Hallmark. Please make more Starfire because I would be totally fine just having a Starfire tree.
Would you keep it up all year round?
Yes, I would.
Really?
And everyone would have to deal with it.
Would
No.
Yes.
Would Mark
No.
be able to like groom it?
No.
Maintain it, Mark?
Wouldn't be allowed to touch it.
Well, I mean, Mark,
Wait, whatever you let touch.
the
Think I'd
tree.
kill it?
The
Hey,
tree.
Mark, you
Oh,
can come over
tree.
and touch my tree.
Okay. But on a
never
more
thought of
serious note, this next week we have another review coming out with DC fans for Wonder Woman issue 60. And if you haven't already pre-ordered that book, please do go ahead and do so because, it's getting good. I'm not going to say anything, but it's getting good. And any last shout outs you want to put out there?
I I talk occasionally.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I like it when he looks
Yeah,
right.
you do.
When he looks right into the camera, it's like he's looking right at me. It's like I'm going to look right at it, and I'm looking right at you, Mark.
Oh man,
It's the deep blue eyes, right?
That's right.
Is it?
Yeah.
No, that's not.
You look like Oliver Queen.
Yes. Finally, high five. Somebody said it.
I love the Arrow show. I do love that CW.
She just hit him.
I saw it. Hey, listen. There's a lot of us on here, and we're all close. Like, there's one close to you. If you need help, Woodard down there. He's just a
Holy
stone.
cat kicking my door in.
No, give me back my mark.
I'll come on next week with an eye patch.
And when they ask you what happened, you
I need all your new Titans. Because you have to go to Kentucky to get them now.
I fell down. There was stairs and
You fell down some stairs. A lot of stairs.
Lots and lots of stairs.
So, Paul, what's new on your channel, bud?
Well, as always, shout out to everybody in the chat. I got a few special shout outs. One to our brother Jeremy Edwards, Strange Comics. It's his birthday this weekend. Another one to Tom Pyre for coming out here and hanging out with us. One to Miss Hustle for her triumphant return. And last but not least, to Pope Grimy 10110011100000 because he asked to make his shout out digital.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did.
Damn,
We'll
went
give him his,
binary.
I'll give him his chair shot digital, too. How about that?
Oh, snap.
What's going on, legend?
Man, we got a lot of stuff going on next weekend, Saturday and Sunday. We got Strictly Comics coming over. Edwin is coming over to the Great Legend Show to host the Hero Initiative. It's Hero Initiative auction. So everything starts at 99 cents. Tons of people in the comic book community, New York Warriors, just New York Warriors, Alex the Comic Hoarder, all these people, myself, we Comic Core, everybody, we donated these items to be auctioned off. And every item is going to be starting off at 99 cents. And all of these items, most of them, I'd say 95% of these items are all worth $100 or more. So we encourage each and every one of you to come check us out. It's going to be on Saturday and Sunday. This coming up, not, tomorrow, blah, 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 but the next weekend. Come see us and support Hero Initiative, giving back to the creators that created some of the awesome stuff we're reading right now. And as far as material on my channel, every time I want to go live, there's always other live shows on there. So, man, I can't find – there's no room in the inn. I feel like I'm in Bethlehem and I'm down in the damn farmhouse, But that's where legends are born. And that's where Jesus was born. So I guess I'm in good company because I've got Jesus in my life. So we'll see what we can do on the Great Legend Show, but definitely check out that auction this coming weekend.
Speaking of that auction, our new sponsor, New Dimension Comics, is donating a couple items. So,
oh, nice.
Kind of big boy books.
Yep.
What those books are? Find out at the Great Legends auction, December 15th and 16th.
Yeah, segue.
Yeah, there we go. Segue. But other than that, thanks for having me again. Chad, you close us out, bud. You got the on-off button like usual.
Yeah, I do. I'm just going to let it run.
Yeah, why not?
Okay.
Throw caution to the wind.
Gretzky says, legend, you are a farmhand.
Farmhand number
2.
God bless Farmhand. Great series. Drew, I know you like the Farmhand too. It's just out of this world kookiness. I love it.
So shout out to everybody in the chat. Brett Hess Hart, Double S Comics, Mr. Gretzky, Pope Grimy, All About Comics, Drew when he was in there.
I'm still in there.
No, you were like trolling me before, bro. I was getting upset. I started crying.
I know you got mad at me.
I was like, fuck Drew.
We've all been there.
Now we know what Huey's Comics goes through with you blasted or stash it guys. He's hosting a bunch of crazies.
I
We're
looked over
driving
at
him
the
slowly
chat.
insane.
I looked over at the chat. I see mute, timeout.
I don't even know what I said that pissed you off, but hey, man.
Huey's working at Arkham Asylum.
He does. I think he
He'd
works
be
in.
driven crazy already if he wasn't half Sasquatch. It's that Sasquatch blood keeping him sane.
So, with that being said, we got a lot. Thanks to everybody that chose to watch us this evening. Thank you guys for thumbing us up. Thank you for Ahoy Comics. Thanks to New Dimension Comics, our new sponsor.
That's awesome.
What do I got going on? I am going to, hopefully tomorrow, I'll be sending Bueller, Woodard, and Legend a link because we're supposed to be doing an interview with Big Sexy, Big Daddy Cool. None other
What
than.
time is that?
I don't know, man. It might be sleeping.
Turn your notifications on for that.
But that might be over on the Great Legend Show. It might be pre-recorded.
Damn, now that's a live show right there. Anytime I can get Chad and Big Sexy in a hangout, boy, it's like Magic Mike all over again. Magic Mike 3 coming at y'all live with C. Woodard and R. Dowdy in 95, along with Bueller only wearing the vest, and Big Sexy and Chad, the very best.
I'm gonna have my clothes on. Put my clothes
He's
on.
gonna change.
It depends. I mean, if you're reading that Martian Manhunter book,
It might just be the best.
Don't we get a review this week?
They had sex.
I think that's the next week.
Or is it this Sunday? Is it TLC this weekend? I don't know.
I think it's the 16th.
Damn. Well, we may miss that.
We might miss
Well,
that
I guess
one.
I could do it. That's auction and a PPV in one damn day.
Yeah,
damn.
that's
We'll
gonna
have
be
to
rough.
see. That's going to be killer.
It better be a dang good pay-per-view.
I know, right?
You're gonna go live tomorrow, and Bueller's gonna be there wearing a vest and a mask like that guy in 8mm.
How'd you know I had that? That's kind of weird.
I thought you were going to say that Nacho Libre mask.
So
Going down. Chad, say something to wrap it up.
Sting's in the rafters. It's time to go. I'm going to throw the link in the chat. If anybody wants to join us, whatever. If
Bye, guys.
Yeah.
Or not.
Yeah. All right.
Hello.
There's a link. Good night.
Bye, everybody. Tom McFarlane.